Congressman Rep. Peter Roskam, who is the Chief Deputy Whip and the co-chair of the House Energy Action Team. Congressman Roskam, good to have you with us this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
So, a lot of, people talking about this out there. We've gotten a huge response this morning when we asked people what kind of impact it's having on their lives, and yet no discussion of it last night. What do you expect you're going to hear from the president today?
Well, what I would hope the president would do would be to acknowledge the failure of the administration on this issue. The administration has basically come up with an energy policy that rewards his political allies. He has put Solyndra on top of Keystone, said yes to Solyndra. The Inspector General of the Department of Energy has said $3 billion has been lost in loan guarantees, and the president just sort of shrugs that off as, well, no big deal. That's the cost of doing business. At the same time as he's put a stiff arm on the Keystone pipeline, which is a job creator and something that ultimately creates energy security. Similarly, the White House is complicit in this, and that they're slow-walking these permits for expansion of offshore drilling in ways that I would characterize as really passive-aggressive.
Congressman, as we were just talking about earlier, Bill was just talking to the panel about this, and Chris and I was saying, oil supply is at very high levels right now. So it's not a question of supply in terms of drilling. There is the pressure, of course, of what's going on in Iran and the potential for some kind of blockage at the Strait of Hormuz, which nobody wants to see happen. There's a number of dynamics out there, including speculators that are driving the prices higher of gasoline.
Okay, so take those two issues. Take the Straits of Hormuz. And if there's saber rattling by Iran, what's the best remedy to that? The best remedy is to bring safe Canadian oil down through the United States, our closest and most stable ally, and to open the Keystone pipeline, create 20,000 jobs, and not have to deal with all the Iranian adventures. Think about the speculation issue. What is the least thing that a speculator wants to find? A speculator wants to control a market. What happens if there's more energy that's more highly productive? This is why it doesn't make any sense for the administration to not expand offshore energy, not to be pursuing it aggressively in the Mountain West, where we've got huge finds in terms of natural gas. That's where the action is. But instead, the White House has come up and they've said, look, we're basically going to reward political allies. We're going to cater to a radical environmental base, which is completely on the fringe of the energy discussion. We're going to kowtow to them as opposed to trying to lower energy prices for the rest of the country.
So some folks out there think that, that they don't mind the price of gasoline being a bit higher and that it encourages their green initiatives. We heard basically that from a quote quite some time ago, back from the Energy Secretary, about what drove people in Europe to start driving smaller cars. Do you buy into that concept at all?
That is completely out of touch. And if that's what the administration is saying, it shows how completely out of sync. Look, I'm talking to you from Chicago, and here in the Midwest, within the past year, gas prices have jumped $1.50. And for the administration to say, look, this is something, high energy prices is something that we should welcome and embrace and celebrate, I think is ultimately out of touch. And I think it is something that should be shunned and wholeheartedly rejected. They need to drop this nonsense of catering to a narrow political base of their allies and look out at what's going to create lower energy prices for the rest of the country.
Peter Roskam, Congressman from Illinois. Good to have you here today, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're asking